This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Wanted to take another hit before the opening. Oh my god. Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live, where Justin just took a lung buster. Oh my god. Welcome. It's a freaking Wednesday. It's a freaking Wednesday. Let me get the Argue With Me Now About Politics title up. So maybe we get some callers in here. I didn't realize this was in politics the whole time we were listening to music. I try to be in just chatting so it nukes the VOD. Welcome. Good evening. We got a lot of news to cover. We're doing a Space Ghost Coast to Coast marathon directly after this stream. I'm going to try to make this one fast, but here's a lot of news. There's a lot of news, and we got to talk about it. Representative Newhouse wants Representative Green censured for his outburst last night during Trump's not State of the Union speech. Al Green has responded. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, has said Dems have proven who they really are. You're going to hear from Rep. Stansberry tonight. She was the representative who held up a sign that said this is not normal. Trump is suspending military deportation flights because they're too expensive. But that didn't stop all the right-wingers in Congress from trying to grill mayors from around the country. We've got clips from James Comer. Anna Paulina Luna says she is referring the mayors to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution. Paul Gosar had a knockout, drag-out fight with the mayor of Boston, apparently. Meanwhile, the mayor of New York City was grilled about his ties to the Trump administration and what kind of illegal activity he might be doing. The White House announced it is pausing the tariffs on U.S. auto manufacturers from Canada, China, Mexico, all of them, for just U.S. auto manufacturers. I guess they received a little bit of blowback. Speaking of blowback, Republicans have been told to avoid doing town halls. Wonder why that might be. Maybe because Senator Roger Marshall was booed out of his town hall. Maybe it was because a Texas representative booed out of his town hall. Apparently Pam Bondi is in hot water with the White House over her bungled release of the Epstein files last week, but I can't imagine it was her fault. She's just going to be the patsy. Maybe we're going to get Matt Gaetz after all. I need everyone in the chat to prepare themselves. Don't go too nuts when I tell you this next headline. Are you guys ready? Are you okay? Are you going to be able to handle it? Contain yourselves. Luigi made sex tapes. There are apparently about 20 of them. Woman on OnlyFans resorting to sleeping with old men in nursing homes as her latest stunt.
You take your 33
Oh God, it's
and a
Scott
third chance
Steiner.
minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 1/3 chance of winning.
Avalon's like Link. God damn. Liberal women or leftist women? Because I would assume that liberal women don't like Luigi. I would assume it's leftist women. Shelley, you don't believe that there are sex tapes? You feel like this is just a rumor? I don't know who is alleging this. I don't know where this came from. We'll find out at the end of the show. we got other shit to talk about as well. Like Keith Olbermann wants Pat McAfee fired. If you watched wrestling over the weekend, You might know why. Pat McAfee getting really upset about the Canadian crowd booing both the... Why they were doing the U.S. national anthem in Canada just boggles your mind anyway. But they booed the U.S. national anthem. They cheered for the Canadian national. They played both. But why you play the U.S. national anthem? Why do you even show that shit on your show? You think it marginalizes him, Shelley? I think it just makes him that much cooler. That's all the memes that I saw. I was like, I already like the guy. You didn't have to sell me on him anymore. Oh, it was wrestling, Avalon. It was wrestling. They did the U.S. national anthem and the Canadian national anthem, and the Canucks booed the U.S. national anthem. I got video of a driver crashing into a supermarket. A suspect swallowed jewelry. I think we even have the x-rays. We're going to get an update on the Karen Reed. I can't call it a trial because they're not in trial yet. This is on our way to the second trial of Karen Reed. Her lawyers are pushing for the charges to be dismissed on account of double jeopardy. Are you double jeopardy today? A clerk shot in L.A. County. I believe we have footage of that. We have body cam that shows a horrific incident at a Florida gas station. I don't even know what the incident is. We got a lot of Florida stories tonight. Where's Clinically? Clinically, are you here for this? T-minus, welcome in. The Florida Attorney General is investigating the Tate brothers. There was a triple murder in Florida. And then a Miami woman used hair revitalizer in order to commit murder. All that and a lot friggin' more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening. Welcome in. Poop that out. Oh my God, are they still going to sell the jewelry? Can you imagine if you ended up with the jewelry that was up somebody's ass? And for some reason that made me think of Christopher Walken. I mean, Butch went back. The mobsters were there to get his grandfather's watch. It is kind of a weird move for character assassination. I don't know who really... Is it Luigi's attorneys that have released this? I don't know where the information came from. Oh, I never gave you your meme of the day. You better stand up and cheer for a kid with brain cancer. I have brain cancer. Please don't cut my funding. Oh, fuck off. That's pretty much how it is. There you go. You can see the whole thing now. I mean, that's what happened. I've seen so many right-wingers about like, oh, if you can't cheer for a kid that survived cancer, if you can't acknowledge how wholesome of a moment this was, oh, shut the fuck up. And I even acknowledged how wholesome the moment was last night. That doesn't undercut the lies, political theater put forward by the Republicans. This is the AP fact check of Trump's speech from last night. I'm amazed it's only 2 minutes long.
President Donald Trump's 1 hour and 40-minute address to Congress highlighted many of his initiatives, from an immigration crackdown to tariffs and energy policy. Trump focused part of his speech on tariffs recently enacted on Canada, Mexico, and China. He initially emphasized tariffs during his campaign for the presidency, and during his address on Tuesday night, he described them as integral to his political agenda. Trump also spoke about shrinking the federal workforce, another campaign proposal that Trump has seen through with the help of Elon Musk. But some of Trump's other comments included potentially misleading information. For instance, Trump said illegal border crossings last month were the lowest ever recorded.
The lowest ever recorded, ever.
While that's true of recent years, U.S. government data shows that the lowest recorded crossings occurred in the 1960s. President Trump claimed to have inherited a, quote, economic catastrophe from President Joe Biden.
As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe.
Numerically, that is untrue, because by the end of Biden's term, the economy had expanded, inflation-adjusted incomes continued to grow, and unemployment was at a low of 4%.
And that's wild to claim that as like now the Fed, or the Atlanta Fed at least, is like changing its forecast. And apparently they've gotten it right. Over like the last 10, 15 years, they have nailed everything. And they changed their forecast from like 3% GDP growth to 2% negative growth. Thanks, Trump.
However, the mood of the country's economy was...
I think it bounced back a little bit today.
The December 2024 AP NORC poll showed about 7 in 10 U.S. adults rated the country's economic state as very or somewhat poor at the time. Trump also claimed that the U.S. Army had its single best recruitment month in 15 years in January.
And you know,
I've thought about it, T-Minus. Let you guys
ago,
cash in some
where the results
channel
were
points.
exactly the opposite.
Army data shows that recruiting numbers have been increasing steadily over the past year, with the highest total coming in August 2024, before the November election. During the speech, Trump focused in on electric vehicles, saying that his administration ended the last administration's, quote, EV mandate.
And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate.
But there was no federal mandate to force the purchase of EVs during the Biden administration,
No.
as Trump has falsely claimed many times before.
Squid Ew, welcome in. Give me a precising definition on what you're talking about. The thoughts on critique of pure reason. Thinking and winging are two different things. Representative Newhouse calling for Representative Al Green to be censured following his outburst on the floor last night during the president's speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today for a very serious issue that I think troubles, disturbs every member of
Dan Newhouse of
both sides of the
Washington.
aisle. Mr. Speaker,
The
decorum.
gentleman will suspend. Please take your conversations off the floor. The gentleman may continue.
Mr. Speaker, decorum and order, respect, those are the foundations for the way that we conduct business in this chamber, in this institution.
I'm not familiar with
Respect
Kant.
for the institution is paramount. Respect for each other. And respect for the responsibility that each one of us
Dougie, good evening.
has been tasked with, who has the responsibility to the American people. These are the building blocks, the most important facets of our system that truly separate us, the United States of America, from the rest of the world. During the President's address just last night, to a joint session of Congress. Mr. Speaker, those principles were violated. The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Green, performed one of the most shameful acts that I've ever seen on this floor. As an advocate for bipartisan problem solving,
No, my friend, I have a degree in philosophy. Just Kant wasn't one of the philosophers I was into. I'm into political philosophy. Rawls, Locke, Hobbes, shit like that. Machiavelli, that I've all read. Kant dealing with, existential philosophy is not exactly anything that I piqued my interest, my friend. So I'm not sure how Kant was an influence on the United States. So profoundly influenced by Kant. Really? How do you figure? I'm interested. But I'm not familiar with Kant. I'm not up on him. Montreal player, good evening. Welcome in. No a posteriori for me. Tadpole has read The Prince.
and for
I
working
don't think I've read the whole thing.
as hard as possible to come up with solutions for the people that I represent and for the people that every single one of us represent. I was deeply disappointed to see the behavior.
But hey, guys, I may not be qualified to talk about politics. Only been covering news for 2.5 decades now. Might not be qualified because I've never read Kant.
We all saw, and that the world saw, unfold in
Sorry.
this chamber. I want to thank my Republican colleagues, certainly House leadership, particularly Mr. Crane, Mr. Nels, for helping elevate the conference's concern on this very, very important matter. Mr. Speaker, we must maintain a standard in the House of Representatives. And any members
Fair enough, Igloo.
to adhere to the Speaker's direction to cease such behavior, regardless of their political party, regardless of who's at the lectern giving a speech. This
This is Avalon's
and
rip.
must continue to be reprimanded. We cannot afford to let it go by. Mr. Speaker, we can do better. Mr. Speaker, we must do better for ourselves, for the institution, and for the people that sent us here.
I just can't get over these fucks, hardcore supporters of Donald Trump, wanna throw their faux outrage around. Oh, well, like we're too dignified to engage in insults. You know, like fucking, it's the same thing with Critically Thinking Vet the other day. Oh, we want to agree to not have insults. I'm sorry, didn't you guys support the guy that said nothing but Crooked Joe and no, I'm sorry, Sleepy Joe, Crooked Hillary, Little Marco, Meatball Ron? That's all that motherfucker did was insult people. So forgive me if I do not give a shit that you think insults are some kind of disqualifier, because apparently you don't. Oh, not this motherfucker anymore.
Emotion, checking our energy,
I want to cut him off.
and prioritizing decency.
Ah, fuck your decency. We want to hear from Representative Al Green about what he thinks about the possible punishment that he will face being reprimanded for what he did last night. You proud of yourself, sir?
I should be sanctioned in some way. I had the privilege of going to jail with John Lewis for protesting. We talked about peaceful protest. And one of the things that he called to my attention was that we have to be willing to suffer the consequences. That's what peaceful protest is about. You get in the way, if you're arrested, then you've got to be willing to suffer the consequences. So I'm not angry with the speaker. I'm not angry with the officers. I'm not upset with the members who are going to bring the motions or resolutions to sanction. I will suffer the consequences. But I must add this. What I did was from my heart. People are suffering. And
Wrong Al Green, honestly.
I was talking about Medicaid. I didn't just say you don't have a mandate. I said you don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid. And I mentioned that the cap should be lifted higher than Social Security. And we have to protect Medicaid, Medicare. And I did it from my heart. And I will suffer whatever the
Just
consequences.
making sure, anonymously.
But truthfully, I would do it again.
Well, what is your reaction to some in your own party? I mean, earlier this morning, for instance, Leader Schumer said
They're both are on Al Green's
policies versus,
But yeah, like his intention was to get thrown out because that's what caused the scene. That's what got people to talk about it. A lot of the other Democratic protests we know nothing about because they didn't actually do something to get noticed. The C-SPAN cameras paid no attention to them.
a disruption like last night. I mean, do you feel that your actions were a distraction in any way?
If you would like to have a discussion, you need to call in, my friend, or otherwise we're doing the news.
On some issues that impact one's conscience, it is better to stand alone than not stand at all.
Have you talked at all to Dem leadership after last night?
I have not. I found myself this morning having to cope with the loss of a friend. Sylvester Turner and I grew up in politics together.
Yeah, he was the mayor in what, Houston?
It's a great loss.
Or Dallas?
Were you with him at all last night? Because I know he was at the address. Was there anything unusual?
I didn't find anything unusual. We talked. He was on the floor. I introduced him to someone. I fell to my knees when I heard it this morning. I could not believe it, and I still have problems coping with it.
It's wild. I didn't know he was at the address last
A
night.
great person, and it's a big loss. So I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that my being somber at this time when you're trying to get information. I'm sorry, but that's where I am. And I wish
Yeah, the former mayor of Houston, Representative Sylvester Turner.
be critical of him. I wish him the best. But there are just some issues that are just so important. Medicaid is one of those issues. We're talking about poor people now. I have good health care. So does Mr. Schumer. But there are some people who need this. And we're talking about cutting Medicare, Medicaid. We're talking about cutting Medicaid. And Medicare too, possibly, as well as, I don't know what will happen with Social Security, but we got to raise that cap. If you are making
Get rid of the cap.
$170,000 plus, less than 180, 100% of your income will be taxed for a certain amount of Social Security. And if you make $1 billion, you will only be taxed up to that $170,000 plus.
Yes, apparently
Something
Jeffries
about that's just not acceptable.
got several members of the caucus to back off their planned protests.
Senior citizens, we cannot allow the system to just go unnoticed until it becomes a major problem. We have to do something about that. And raising the cap is the way to resolve the issue. Let those who are making much, much more pay a greater share. I have no problems. I make more than $170,000 a year. I think I ought to be taxed more. and we need to do this to protect Social Security. But it was Medicaid that I said, you don't have a mandate to cut Medicaid. I regret that some in the press have reported that I said, you don't have a mandate. I said to cut Medicaid.
You don't have a mandate.
And I still stand by that, but I'm not angry with anybody. I will accept the sanctions, whatever they are, but I will be candid. I would do it again. I would do it again.
Love him, but we still need younger leadership because, goddamn, it was hard to decipher what he was even saying because he's a feeble old man. I don't want to anonymously. We need young people. Walls is okay, but Green is too old. We need young blood. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Caroline says Democrats expose themselves.
But President Trump campaigned on behalf of and grew very close.
President Trump.
But President Trump campaigned on behalf of.
President Trump.
But President Trump campaigned on behalf of and grew very close to the Gold Star families. He promised them accountability. And last night, he kept his promise. He spoke to those Gold Star families yesterday, ahead of his speech, in an incredibly heartwarming call to share this incredible news. And as President Trump asked in his speech last night, how could anyone possibly be opposed to any of this action that he is taking? Well, apparently, the modern-day Democrat Party could. The behavior of Democrats last night was completely disgraceful and demonstrated how severely out of touch they are with the American public. It was the most shameful moment in the history of presidential addresses in that chamber. And what was supposed to be a unifying moment for our country, Democrat members of Congress instead screamed at the President of the United States, who was just overwhelmingly reelected by their constituents, walked out of the chamber, and worst of all, they disrespected the—
Not overwhelmingly.
Democrats didn't stand to keep men out of women's sports. They couldn't even clap for a girl who got her head smashed in by a man on a volleyball court. Democrats didn't stand for an innocent and beautiful child who is surviving brain cancer. They opposed eliminating taxes on tips and Social Security. They didn't stand in favor of cutting taxes for hardworking Americans. They couldn't even clap for two mothers whose daughters were killed by illegal aliens. One of the only things that could get Democrats off their feet last night was cheering for Ukraine, not for America. Last night was a very clarifying moment for our country. The Democrats exposed themselves as the party of insanity and hate.
She said it like she killed the girl. Well, that's why they always, the right-wingers, when I talked to that dude that reports on MMA apparently, and he wanted to talk about trans people, he was like, oh, the one fighter broke the other one's face. I'm like, no, hold on, you don't get to say that. It was an orbital bone fracture, which was one of the most common fractures in UFC, one of the most common injuries in UFC and MMA, because you're punching each other in the fucking face. They just make it sound more grandiose than what it is, because they're lying sacks of shit.
They allowed their Trump derangement syndrome to stop them from celebrating America and our people, and we will not allow them to forget that. And it's not just the Democrat Party. The mainstream media still doesn't get it. Last night, MSNBC's Nicole Wallace disgustingly looped in a 13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th.
Wait, what? What? Well, the 13-year-old boy with brain cancer was looped in by Trump. If anybody was using the... Oh, my God.
13-year-old boy with brain cancer into an attack on the president over January 6th. And CNN's first chyron out of the speech called it divisive. President Trump wasn't divisive. The Democrats were. And CNN was proven wrong by their own viewers, 69% of whom, in a post-speech poll, said they had a positive reaction to the president's speech. It's sad and frankly pathetic that...
And I can imagine that poll was like, they shared it out on Twitter, like, Right wingers were hate watching CNN, and they're like, "Oh, guys, go slam the CNN poll." You know it. You fucking know it.
Democrats and liberals in the legacy media continue to allow their.
But also, who the fuck is watching CNN? It also could be that, like, you know, it's people 70 plus watching CNN, and they're just old people, and all they saw was a president's speech, and they're like, "All right, yeah, he did all right."
But nevertheless, the
president ain't got no fucking viewers anyway.
Through policies that are grounded in common sense and that uplift all Americans.
The Democratic representative who was holding the sign that said, "This is not normal," was Representative Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico. This was at the House Oversight Committee hearing earlier today. She let loose on the Republicans.
Chair recognizes Ms. Stansbury from New Mexico.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always think that we should sage this room after these hearings because we hear a lot of crazy stuff in here. But let me.
Hey now, Munster Balls. Was I mocking her pussy? I don't think I was. I think the chat was pretty complimentary of her, weren't they? I don't think I was mocking her. Come the fuck on. We need a content warning for the First Lady here.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Mayors, welcome to our committee. Thank you for serving your cities and your people. I have to say, as also an elected official, you have the hardest job in America. There is no job harder than being a mayor of a major city. So thank you for serving your constituents. And I want to take this opportunity to especially acknowledge Mayor Wu, because not only are you the first woman to ever serve the city of Boston, if you all haven't been watching,
Goon Maxing in the JustinFREAKIN news
of a
stream.
newborn who is here with her. She has a 7-week-old baby, and she showed up to testify and be yelled at by our colleagues for 4 hours. So I say to you, Mayor Wu, may your daughter grow up to be a fierce leader like you.
Thank you.
Now, I want to reject the fundamental premise of this hearing, because what this entire effort is about is intimidating state and local officials, attacking law-abiding immigrant families, and spending millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars, both in the administration and in Congress, to make ads that are complete smoke and mirrors, trying to say that Donald Trump has somehow secured America's safety. What they are
Smoke and beer is actually a good combination.
America safer. In fact, it's a total and complete lie, because Donald Trump has failed to actually even secure the border. He's failed to stop illicit drugs like fentanyl from crossing the border. He's failed to secure sufficient staffing and technology to stop human trafficking and illicit drugs from crossing the border. He's failed to support local law enforcement and behavioral health programs to address the issues that are affecting our communities. And he's failed to even execute.
She just got elected anonymously. Cut her some slack. She'll get, I'm sure it's high pressure, especially if you're coming off last night. Yeah, that's what I'm saying anonymously. She's a freshman congresswoman.
On the most basic thing that he said he would do, which was to pass immigration reform when he got into office. Here we are, Donald Trump. Where's your immigration bill? Oh, wait, you don't have one. That's right. Because none of this is actually about making America safer. In fact, all of this is making America weaker. He's dismantling our federal law enforcement that would actually go after cartels and drug traffickers. Over the last 6 weeks, Donald Trump has taken out the most senior FBI officials and the officials in our U.S. attorney's offices that were actually prosecuting the cases against the drug cartels. Donald Trump took out the law enforcement that were prosecuting those cases. So let's be real about that. He froze federal law enforcement funds all across the country. I have tribes in my district that still haven't had their DOJ grants.
based.
updated.
We've only got some defund the police action going on.
He's frozen funds to refugee resettlement and other immigrants groups permanently who have outstanding receipts. There are refugees and asylees that had waited decades to get to this country from war-torn parts of the world, and they literally had their flights canceled the last 2 weeks, while Donald Trump is sitting in the Oval Office and offering millionaire oligarchs a free ride into America with his gold visa program.
I will smoke to that.
Is this really
DJ
about
Dub.
making America safe again? Is that really what he's about? Is that really what my colleagues across the aisle are about? Because what I can tell you, as a representative from a great city, the city of Albuquerque, a border state, is that we know what makes our communities safer. It means we stop drugs from coming into our country and our communities. It means that we support and we fund our law enforcement. It means that we fund our behavioral health system. It means that we support our mayors, our tribal leaders, and our state officials. It means that we invest in them. It does not mean that we drag them in front of Congress for 4 hours. We yell at them. We tell them we're going to give them criminal referrals. The DOJ is intimidating our mayors, and my colleagues across the aisle are producing TV ads to try to pretend that they're making this country safe again. It's total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. They are not making America safer again, and what they are doing is terrorizing immigrant families. That is what they are doing. Parents who are afraid to send their kids to school, parents who are afraid that they won't come home again, kids who are afraid to leave their houses, refugees who have waited for years to come into this country. And our mayors are sitting here enduring this ridiculous hearing as they've been threatened in front of the American people. And so I will say, in the words of my sister in the front row who brought forward the words of one of our faith leaders just a few days ago on the House floor, I hope that my colleagues across the aisle, who I can tell, most of whom come from immigrant stock, will have the same mercy that our ancestors had shown to them by this country so that you could sit here and be a congressperson.
Gentle lady's time's expired.
I'm amazed they didn't get on to her about the use of the word bullshit. That's wild to me. The hearing that she's talking about was the mayors. Several mayors from several of the biggest cities in the country, including New York City, Boston, appearing in front of a House committee. We're going to get to that shortly. That was the House Oversight Committee. But I wanted to touch on this story before we go to the Republicans yelling at mayors. Trump is pausing military deportation flights. Why is he pausing them? Because they cost too much money. I would much rather just give those immigrants $3 million. It would change their fucking lives. Holy shit. Just give those immigrants $3 million. They'll be integrated into society in no time. I mean, I don't know how many there are. If there are 30 on a plane, I have no idea about math. That's $100,000. No, $300,000 each. Something like that.
But then you take my 75% chance of winning and then add 66 and 2/3%. I got 141
$100,000.
2/3 chance of winning.
$100,000, life changing right there. Will absolutely allow somebody to make a life here in America. So I am certain that this was all for show. This whole deportation shit has been PR, as well as this hearing today. It's Stansberry said it so they can make commercials. That's exactly what they're doing. Ain't that right, Comer?
questions for 5 minutes, and I have limited time, so I want to start with a simple yes or no question, and I'm going to hold you all to that because after the first question, then we'll allow for a little more time. But Mayor Johnston, in 2017, Denver prohibited city officials, including corrections officers, from assisting and cooperating with any investigation, detention, or arrest procedures related to federal immigration laws. The city also stated that federal immigration authorities shall not be granted access or allowed to use the secure areas of any city or county jail. Mayor Johnson,
no free peanuts on ice here.
City.
A lot of folks use that term.
Yes or no?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Folks use that term differently. I can tell you what Denver does. We do not.
Okay, I take that as a yes. Mayor Johnson, no, yes or no? I take that as a yes. Mayor Johnson, on March 10th, 2023, you posted on X that Chicago must lead
all for show
by the promise to be a sanctuary city. Is Chicago a sanctuary city?
A 40-year policy of being a welcoming city.
Yes.
A 40-year policy of a welcoming city.
Mayor Wu, in November 2024, you gave an interview noting that you served on the city council a decade ago when the Boston Trust Act was first passed. You said in that interview that in terms of Boston's policy, there is a prohibition on resources and personnel.
Representative James Comer of Kentucky.
Detainers, meaning Boston police and other departments cannot cooperate with ICE when it comes to detaining on civil warrants.
There's been talk that he may run for Mitch McConnell's seat.
City.
Boston is a safe city.
I take that as a yes. And Mayor Adams, on November 12, 2024, you said, quote, "This is a sanctuary city," but I must comment that you have, of the witnesses today of the major cities, you have publicly stated that you were willing to work with ICE on detaining the most criminal illegals, and I want to publicly thank you for that. But my question to you, sir, is New York City a sanctuary city?
Based on our classification, yes.
Okay. Last year, in a Boston suburb, an illegal alien raped and impregnated his 14-year-old daughter while living in a shelter for illegal aliens. Mayor Wu, under Boston law, would you turn this criminal over to ICE on a detainer?
Whenever there's a criminal warrant,
probably yes.
Enforce that and hold people accountable.
So would you turn that criminal over to ICE?
Yes.
This happened outside the city of Boston, but I can tell you in the city, whenever someone commits a crime, whenever there's a criminal warrant, we hold them accountable. If ICE deems that they are dangerous enough to obtain a criminal warrant, and the Boston police will enforce it.
Will you turn that criminal over to ICE?
Yes, dipshit.
The laws,
I
and
take
we
that
make
as a
sure
no.
that everyone.
In Chicago, an illegal alien who is a suspected member of a violent foreign gang who was brought into custody for his potential involvement in a murder. He was
didn't even have it in Boston.
To press charges. This illegal alien is also facing charges for kidnapping and sexually assaulting his former girlfriend last year. Now he's on the streets. Mayor Johnson, under Chicago law, would you turn this criminal over to ICE on a detainer?
Our local law enforcement works hard every day to get criminals off the streets of Chicago.
Would you turn that criminal over to ICE? That's the problem. That's one of the topics of this conversation. That's one of the problems we've heard from Tom Homan and from the Homeland Security is that in your city, when someone's apprehended for a crime and ICE is now with this new federal policy wanting to come in and deport the criminal alien, that you will not cooperate with ICE. Will you turn that criminal over to ICE?
And we do not harbor criminals. Our local police department works hard every single day to ensure that the city of Chicago is
yes
safe.
Or no? Will you turn the criminal over to ICE?
With a criminal warrant from the federal government, our local law enforcement repeatedly collaborates with federal agents.
So you're saying publicly today, you will turn that alien over to ICE in a safe place like a jail and not turn him out on the street and say, here you go.
You can't say anything definitely because, you know.
You will turn that criminal
You're
over.
making up a hypothetical.
With a criminal warrant, as we have done for 40
Should
years.
that criminal be turned over to ICE?
With a criminal warrant, they are subject to the federal laws, and that includes deportation.
My time has expired, but Again, the point.
Seriously, they should say yes. They should say yes, dipshit.
To have cooperation. It is federal law.
I do like how feckless are each of those mayors, because sanctuary city just means if you are a not a criminal, if you are not wanted for anything, if you have committed a non-violent, or if you have only, if you are a violent offender, you will be deported. If you are in a sanctuary city, it doesn't mean that you won't be deported. You will be arrested by local law enforcement and dealt with them then. And then if, as they said, the federal government issues a federal criminal arrest warrant, you will be deported. Sanctuary city just means if you are not wanted for any violent crime, you will not be subject to deportation, so that you can cooperate with local authorities, so that you will pay your bills and your taxes. And so that if you are a victim of crime, you won't be afraid to come forward and report it. Or if you are a witness to a crime, you won't be afraid to cooperate with law enforcement to help them solve it. That is what sanctuary city means. No one has done a good job of explaining that to the general public. Hell, I didn't even do a good job explaining it just then. And I feel like if most people knew what it was, they wouldn't be against it. And then we have dipshits like Anna Paulina Luna, the representative from Florida, who preys on the ignorance of her constituents. She says she's going to refer these mayors to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution.
This is Miss Luna from Florida.
Mayor Wu, does the Boston Trust Act restrict communication with federal immigration?
But just to be clear, Anna Paulina Luna can still be my Republican mommy.
Authorities regarding individuals' immigration status, yes or no?
We do not collect immigration status in law enforcement.
I'd just like to point out, and Mr. Chairman, if I could enter the Boston Trust Act into the record. Mr. Chairman.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. On section 4AA, a law enforcement official and employment of the city department, agency, or commission shall not, and then A, inquire of an individual on his or her immigration status. Under Title 8, U.S. Code subsection 1373 stipulates that local governments cannot prohibit or restrict communication with federal immigration authorities regarding individuals' immigration status, so your enforcement of this act is in direct violation of that statute. Can you please confirm?
That is not
Thank
the
you,
truth.
ma'am. That's a U.S. code. I don't know about you, but U.S. code does not lie.
We do not ask about
Mayor
immigration
Johnson, I'm not
status,
talking
and that
to
is
you
what
anymore.
makes
Next
us safe in the
question,
city.
Mayor Johnston, you said in your testimony that the first step you took after illegal aliens arrived was to provide them with housing. Is that correct, yes or no?
Folks that were on the streets freezing to death, we gave access to shelter. Yes, we did.
Thank you. Not to be rude here, but you have a good understanding of what the definition of harboring is, correct?
I do.
Okay. For those that might not, harboring means to knowingly or recklessly provide shelter or place to stay for an illegal alien. And according to Title 8 of U.S. Code subsection 1324, that is also a federal crime.
T-minus, were you not aware that this is Representative Anna Paulina Luna?
To go to jail to stop deportation efforts.
I did say that I'd be
Tier 2, good evening.
up for all of our residents, and the context was that was the point at which the administration was threatening to deploy the U.S. military. To
Avalon, come back in an hour for Space Coast.
Thank
so we
you.
were worried about that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record an article from CBS.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. In this, it says, Johnston said earlier this week that he's willing to use civil disobedience and, if necessary, going to jail to stop deportations. My final
You're talking about one of the mayor's
you,
balls.
Mr. Mayor Johnson.
Because, yeah, they probably have the...
Welcoming city... Or
Today is Ash Wednesday. They probably got the stupid fucking... We're going to see it a couple different times. I think it's the dumbest fucking thing, but I guess I shouldn't insult people's fucking culture and religion and shit. But also, I think some people do it because they're in New Orleans to party or some shit. Possibly, I don't know.
ordinance encourages illegal
Michael, good
aliens to
evening.
enter the United States, specifically into Chicago. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. So you don't believe that banning the transfer of individuals into ICE custody for the purpose of civil immigration enforcement encourages illegal immigration into Chicago? Or how about agencies, sorry, 1 second, or agents not being able to stop, arrest, or detain individuals based solely on their immigration status or administrative warrant?
So we comply with all laws, local, state, and federal.
To me, after this line of questioning, it's very clear that these policies that you have all implicated are active and alive and well in your cities, are in direct violation with U.S. Title 8 Code subsection 1324, and is a federal offense. But you all speak about a broken immigration system, and yet here you guys are aiding and abetting in that entire process. I want to be very clear about something. Open border policies, which is something that you guys are talking about, hurts people on both sides, meaning the people that are coming here illegally.
They have nothing to do with the border.
As well. I do not think you guys are bad people, but I think that you are ideologically misled, which is why, unfortunately, based on your responses, I'm all going to be criminally referring you to the Department of Justice for investigation. And as soon as I leave here, these will be going over to Pam Bondi. I'm not doing that in an effort to bully you guys, but I do believe that you're hurting the American people, and you can make that known with the evidence that you can present to the Department of Justice. But if you guys continue doing what you're doing, you're not going to help anyone. You're going to hurt more people, and that's exactly why I'm tired of it. The American people are tired of it. And Chairman, I yield my time.
Would you yield your last minute?
Yes, sir.
Mayor Adams, you were one of the first mayors in what the media refers to as a blue city, typically, that came out and raised concerns about the influx of illegals pouring into the city of New York. Could you answer the question, what that did to New York City from a budgetary standpoint? Let's not even talk about crime or anything. Let's just talk about from a budgetary, the burden on the citizens of New York City.
Thank you, Media Wish, throwing out the gift sub.
Mr. Chairman, we spent $6.9 billion, and the long-term impact of that is extremely significant. After COVID, we had a large number of children who was chronically absent. We could have taken $200 million of that and dealt with that. We have a real mental health crisis in our city. We could have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that. And so the long-term impact of spending $6.9 billion is going to have serious ramification on the future of New York City. So it's more than just what happened last year or this year. It is what is going to impact us long term.
And I think that's one of the purposes of this hearing, to talk about the consequences from cities that have huge illegal alien populations. So, Chair, now
Wild that the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, a Democrat, got some softball questions from the Republicans, but sure didn't get a softball question from Democratic Rep. Robert Garcia.
And I must add, I don't think anyone's calling for mass deportation, but Chair recognizes Mr. Garcia.
Wait, what? No one's calling for mass deportation?
Thank you.
Did I just hear that?
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank all of our witnesses for being here today.
Flash, Links, good evening.
Before I came to Congress, I was the mayor of Long Beach, California for 8 years. It's a diverse city of about 500,000 people, so I appreciate the work that mayors do. As mayor, I signed the Long Beach Values Act to protect all of our residents, including immigrants and undocumented residents. We set up justice funds to support people that were facing deportation, defending immigrants in court. These are policies that are strongly supported.
I'm not high enough for this shit. Light one up, tip one back.
Good for all the community and make Long Beach safer. Now, we also know that immigrants make our communities vibrant and thriving places to live. The facts are that sanctuary jurisdictions or jurisdictions that welcome immigrants are overwhelmingly safer
than
non-sanctuary jurisdictions. That's actually a fact. Immigrants, both documented and undocumented, are also less likely to be incarcerated or to commit crimes than native-born people. We know this to be true. Again, these are facts, and mayors have every right to pursue the policies that you know are best for your residents. Now, the Trump administration has threatened to prosecute some of the mayors on the panel today and force them to comply with his extremist agenda. But however, Mayor Adams, you are in a different position. You, of course, are already facing serious criminal charges. And Mayor Adams, I assume that you are not going to commit perjury today. And I do believe, though, that you have an enormous amount of issues facing you ahead of you. And it means your criminal charges are absolutely relevant to us today. Bribery, wire fraud.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about with his eyebrows.
Offenses against the United States. Mayor Adams, you, of course, deny these corruption charges against you. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Congressman.
Thank you. Now, I understand that you are proven innocent unless you are guilty, but you also have, sir, a trust problem. 4 of your deputy mayors have resigned. Now, this is serious, and Republican prosecutors agree that the evidence against you is ironclad, yet Trump's DOJ moved to drop these charges. Now, I just want to be just really clear and show this here. Now, look at how the Trump-appointed acting U.S. attorney who is prosecuting you described it. Because the law does not support a dismissal, and because I am confident that Adams committed the crimes with which he is charged, I cannot agree to seek a dismissal. Now, this is a conservative Republican who resigned when Donald Trump pressured her to drop the charges. And we know the Trump administration demanded that the charges be dropped. And this is key. They will be able to refile them against you, Mr. Mayor, at any time. I think, personally, that's why you sat next to the architect of family separation on Fox and Friends. Now, Tom Homan sat next to you and said the following, and I quote, "Getting on Rikers Island is step one. We're working on some other things that we don't really want to talk about on open air because the city council will be putting roadblocks up on us. The mayor and me have a commitment to several other things." Now, this was you, of course, and Mr. Homan, the architect of family separation. This is also incredibly concerning, Mr. Mayor. You sat next to him, you smiled, you badmouthed your own city council. Now, Mr. Mayor, we have a right to know if the Trump administration has actually coerced you into agreeing to anything. And Mayor Adams, I also want to be very clear. Are you selling out New Yorkers to save yourself from prosecution?
There's no deal, no quid pro quo, and I did nothing wrong. And anything dealing with this case,
you are under oath.
Judge Ho, who's now addressing it, I'm going to refer to his actions.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it appears, to me at least, that you are selling New Yorkers out. It appears that you are working with Tom Homan, who is clearly focused on family separation and deportations and harming New Yorkers and others across the country. Now, every other mayor on this panel is pursuing legal and effective policies that benefit our residents and their communities. Their policies actually uphold public safety. Now, I personally agree with the majority of New Yorkers and think, Mr. Mayor, that you should resign.
Well, Amy Coney Barrett has already been turned on by the right.
That, I yield back.
They're calling her Amy Coney Barrett now.
Would my friend yield?
I yield.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I want to be really clear. Were you
Jinx Splash
in exchange for the dropping and dismissal of criminal charges in your indictment to cooperate with the Trump administration on all fronts with respect to immigration? Did any such conversation take place?
I think I was extremely clear.
I cannot hear you, sir.
I think I was extremely clear. No quid pro quo, no agreement. I did nothing wrong but serve the people of New York City.
Thank my friend for yielding.
Leopard's meat faces, indeed. She was one of the ones that ruled in favor of keeping funding that had been cut flowing for contracts that had already been signed. This was apparently wild between Paul Gosar and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Wu, I'll be showing up at your house tomorrow with my bags at 5 o'clock. Leave your doors unlocked, please. What are you making for dinner? Because I expect...
That sounds like a fucking threat. That's a fucking weird thing to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mayor Wu, I'll be showing up at your house tomorrow with my bags at 5 o'clock. Leave your doors unlocked, please. What are you making for dinner? Because I expect a warm meal and a balanced diet. Now, I'm going to need a car And please leave me some cash because I'm going to need to go to my doctor's appointment on Friday. That would be to Mr. Mayor Johnson. Now, I don't want to sleep on the couch, so put me up at a luxury hotel.
I want to punch this fucker so hard.
Obviously, you wouldn't like this because you don't know me, right? You know nothing about me.
Oh, I know plenty about you.
Sanctuary cities offer this kind of hope, this false hope, to illegal aliens by saying that very thing. Stay with me. We don't tell anybody that you break our laws. Now, thank you. You've made the United States complicit and one of the largest purveyors of human trafficking in the world. Thank you. You're disgracing the legal immigration system that came here and the immigrants that came here the right way.
I don't know how he does it with his
time. Now through our
affliction, disability.
And I want to talk about that process.
So I guess he doesn't practice
I've always been
anymore.
told, and it's never been really challenged, is that good process builds good policy, builds good politics. I think that works really, really good because you can always fall back to the process. If the process isn't good, you always get a good process. Now, you heard the word establishing trust, okay? How can you establish trust at the very beginning when you have a false narrative here? You're defending folks who have broken the law. The definition I've always looked at is trust is a series of promises kept. What kind of trust are you supposed?
Yeah, I wouldn't go to him for dentistry.
What is the trust with an illegal alien? It's a false hope. It's a false trust. Welcome. We're bringing you in.
My last dentist was a really cool middle-aged black woman. We'd watch Wendy Williams when I was in the
Let me
chair.
ask you a question. Mayor Adams, did you support SB 1070?
I'm sorry?
Did you support the Arizona law called SB 1070?
I'm not familiar with it, sir.
Well, let me explain, okay?
Mm-hmm.
SB 1070 challenged the federal government on its supremacy clause because we in Arizona wanted that.
He's bored me to death.
We'll do this. We can't allow them to break laws. The Supreme Court ruled that struck it down. Now, it seems contraindicating here that you would have supported SB 1070, right, Mary Adams? Based on the premise that you or would you violate the supremacy clause in regards to immigration?
Would I
violate the supremacy clause?
Well, he has some sort of affliction.
Way over my head.
No, it's not you, DJ Dub.
You know,
he's got like some kind of neurological thing going on.
Would you have supported SB 1070, allowing Arizona to follow their own laws? Because that's what you're doing right here.
Thank you, Congressman. We
I don't know what the name of it
all
is.
Federal law, all state law, and all local law. So we do not have any supremacy clause challenges that we're pursuing or maintaining.
Okay. Well, it seems like you are, but
has he?
Johnson, do you agree?
The city of Chicago complies with all laws.
Okay. Mayor Wu.
I'm not familiar with that law because I'm focused on the city of Boston, but we follow all state, city, and federal laws in Boston.
What happens when you get in conflict with them? Who do you support?
The Constitution, as I understand it, doesn't require cities or police officers or anyone to follow their laws in conflict, follow federal laws in conflict with local laws or state laws.
Okay, in the Constitution it says, and it's explicit, that the federal government has jurisdiction and supremacy over all immigration laws, right? I mean, I've heard it a number of times from my colleagues over here. We're the ones who can define that. We're the ones that have it. We just heard we want a comprehensive immigration policy. How can you get
It's Ash Wednesday.
Immigration policy when you're defining it from the very get-go? You're building it on false premises and false tenets.
Respectfully, Congressman, you could pass bipartisan
I want to
legislation
mock him,
that
but
would
it
be
seems
comprehensive
rude.
Immigration law.
Why
The
would you
false
have-
narrative is that immigrants in general are criminals or immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger and harm. That is actually what is undermining safety in our communities. If you wanted to make us safe,
Oh, okay.
pass.
Sorry, DJ Dub.
Stop cutting Medicaid. Stop cutting cancer research. Stop cutting funds for veterans. That is what will make our city safe.
Yes, thank you. I yield back.
Good job. He took it too. He took it. She had a great comeback, and he just sat there and took it. Good on her. Now, a lot of the Republican representatives brought up felons in these cities. Representative Jasmine Crockett asked about a certain felon.
To touch on something, because I know that many of you prepared for today's hearing by making sure that you got a little bit of information about immigrants and crime in your cities. Let me ask each of the mayors, just yes or no, have any of you been made aware of any immigrant that has had 34 felony convictions that has still been able to roam around in your cities? Anyone?
No, ma'am.
34 felony convictions.
No,
from the
Congresswoman.
immigrants. Anybody?
I'm not aware.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just curious because we are so concerned about crime, and I know that my Republican colleagues would never want anybody with 34 felony convictions roaming around because that could be a danger to the community, but I will move on. The Republicans to touch on something because I know that many of you prepared for today's
But hypocrisy, calling out hypocrisy on right-wingers doesn't work. They're immune to it. They can't feel embarrassment. I say it all the time. The White House announcing that the tariffs have been paused for at least automakers.
We're following developing news from Washington, where the White House has announced a 1-month exemption for automakers on stiff new tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico. And this comes just one day after the U.S. implemented a 25% tariff on those countries, as well as an additional 10% tariff on China. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here with me in Studio 57. Kelly, it feels like the policy is changing by the hour. Where do we stand?
Did we see her the other day?
Okay, so
I said she looked like Miley Cyrus.
Press Secretary Karen Leavitt that we are in a 1-month pause. And so it really actually seems like it was more coming from the big three automakers driving this. In fact, she shared that the president spoke to the big three and this morning, and they said, look, we really need a pause. Not so much that this was a negotiation with Canada. In fact, the president posted on True Social that he spoke to Prime Minister Trudeau, and they just aren't doing enough when it comes to fentanyl. So the market is rebounding.
Canada isn't
likes this right now. I just checked the Dow a second ago. We're over 400 points up. But the press secretary also did say this is a 1-month pause, and come April 2nd, so frankly just under 1 month because this is March 5th, we're going to see reciprocal tariffs go in. And one reporter asked her, he said, well, I mean, a month, how are you going to have all of these companies move their production here? 1 month is not enough. And she said, well, the president told them, you need to move now and you need to be making cars here. So certainly, I think this is a 1-month pause. What I would say is if there's anyone out there that is considering buying a car, now might be the time to pull that trigger because we do have that 1-month pause.
I would bet the U.S. is the #1 supplier of fentanyl to Canada.
Any other type of war. That doesn't sound good. How is this impacting tensions between the U.S. and China? Yeah, any other type of war, I saw that, and a shiver ran up my spine, I think, as most people. Look, it's 3 things that you need to think about when you're talking about a trade war. Higher prices for Americans and Chinese citizens as we go tit for tat with trade tariffs back and forth. You also need to think about the industry.
I mean, it honestly seems like they're purposely trying to wreck the economy.
Farmers here, they rely on China to export their goods. And then also American companies that do a lot of business in China. So Tesla, Starbucks, Nike, Apple, right? A lot of their phones are made there. Most of their phones are made there. What I will note, though, is there's a lot of bark behind that statement from China this morning. But I'm curious to see if there's going to be bite, because the way that they have been responding in terms of tariffs, it's not as much as they did the last time around under the first Trump administration. So we'll see. All right, Kelly O'Grady, thank you.
Shut up. Oh. It was CBS. I got Anna Paulina Luna's ass still up over here. Republicans are being told to avoid town halls. Leadership apparently giving them probably good advice. Probably best for them if they don't want to face backlash. cowards. House Republicans are being encouraged to avoid in-person town halls in favor of phone and live-streamed versions, advice that comes after constituents and activists rocked recent GOP events by expressing outrage about the Trump administration's dramatic moves to reshape the federal government. National Republican Congressional Committee Chair Richard Hudson told House Republicans at a closed-door conference meeting on Tuesday morning that members should opt for teletown halls or live-stream events that can reach more people rather than in-person town halls that can be hijacked by those mean Democratic activists. The advice comes after a slew of people at GOP lawmaker town halls across the country raised concerns about actions taken by President Trump. What might those incidents be? Let's go to Texas. This is where Representative Cody Harris was booed off stage at an education town hall. This happened in Texas. What happened to the dude that was being a cunt about Kant?
If y'all aren't interested in this, we can all pack it up and go home, but we wanted to come here tonight.
Well, in our top story tonight, it was a contentious day in Palestine as Cody Harris, who represents Anderson County, held a town hall meeting at the high school to share his part in Austin for pushing bills meant to better educate Texas children and create more opportunities for our teachers. Today, Harris talked to parents about his initiatives, but the set 2-hour-long meeting only lasted one. Fox 51's Ashton Anderson was there and has how it all unfolded.
It was intense from the very beginning, from school choice protesters outside of Palestine High to educators yelling.
Did you just get earmarks? Yeah, they did it yesterday. This was like 2 days ago.
Throughout the entire evening, people started leaving the meeting early, and Representative Cody Harris ended the Q&A session an hour early by walking off the stage. A tense interaction with public
This is why they got the
representatives at an education
directive to cancel town halls.
Please be respectful of everybody in the room.
East Texas
On top of
Representative
the other ones we've already played.
joined by the author of the school choice bill, Representative Brad Buckley of Salado. Anytime Rep. Buckley would explain a fact in the bill, questions yelled from the audience. After one warning from Harris, he became fed up and ended the Q&A session an hour early. One Palestine ISD principal is upset she didn't hear from the man she voted for.
Mr. Buckley, who does not represent Anderson County, answered.
Harris says the point of the town hall was to explain the pieces of legislation to help rural East Texas public schools.
In my entire district, where I've got over 30.
Boo this man.
I have one private school that is accredited. The rest are not. And so none of those other private schools right now would even be eligible for the ESA. So the vast majority of what we're talking about tonight is what we're doing to benefit our local public schools.
But one Palestine ISD parent believes the money is taken away from public schools and it will hurt her daughter's education.
Yep.
Teachers do deserve to get higher pay, higher funding. And I want my taxes to go towards teachers getting a better pay so my daughter can get a better education. I don't want my taxes going to the hands of the wealthy.
If parents are still worried, Harris wants them to reach out to his office with any other
They're gonna break our public school system.
yelling. As people were leaving the meeting, they were telling me it was a waste of time. I asked Representative Harris, was this meeting a success? And he says it was if you were able to hear the facts. In Palestine, Ashland Anderson, Fox 51 News.
Senator Roger Marshall held a town hall. Also, not very well received. This was in Kansas. What's the matter with Kansas?
A contentious town hall meeting hosted by Senator Roger Marshall in Northwest Kansas this morning. Take a listen.
We have a lot of folks that have traveled a long ways to be here. This is really Oakley's town hall. I'm going to try to focus on their questions. I'm going to say this one time. If you all keep cutting me off, if you're rude, which you're being, I'm going to leave. The people from Oakley don't deserve this. Thank you. All right. Can we see a raise of hands? Okay, this is what I'm talking about right here, that if you're going to keep interrupting me, we're not going to do this.
Percentage of those people, and I know you care about the veterans.
No, he doesn't.
And that is a damn shame.
Yes.
Yeah. That is a shame. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm worried about the veterans.
Well, I yielded to one of my elders, and I appreciate his comments. I think it's a great. I'm not gonna. We don't have time for everyone to stand up. I do got 2 more commitments today. Appreciate everybody making the drive out, and God bless America. Thank you.
Wow.
We reached out to Marshall's office to ask follow-up questions and request an interview. We were sent a statement from his chief of staff saying Democrat operatives sabotaged a local town hall, saying in part, quote, real Kansans overwhelmingly support President Trump's DOGE initiative, shrinking the size
Fucking wow.
and firing career bureaucrats. Senator Marshall is to be commended for staying as long as he did.
But wow. Insane. Well, let's see what happens when it's a Democratic representative. This is Maxine Dexter. 1,200 people jammed into her town hall.
Centennial High School in Portland filled with more than 1,000 people with a lot of questions for Congresswoman Maxine Dexter. I'm Lisa Balick, and this is the 10. President Trump's actions continue to cause anxiety and concern among voters who oppose his agenda. Oregon's congressional Democrats are holding town halls to talk with constituents who are calling on them to do more with the change underway in D.C. Our Ariel Salk has details.
A packed gym, around 1,200 people to hear from Oregon Congresswoman Maxine Dexter during her first solo town hall. So packed, in fact, staffers were telling me they were turning people away.
This is truly a constitutional crisis. We have to fight for this country.
The Portland Democrat fielding questions including the economy, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and veteran services.
As a veteran, I'm very, very concerned about veterans' rights. And since I get all my care up at the VA hospital, I'm really worried that they're just going to take the
memos leaked that they're calling for thousands of employees to be cut from the VA.
Medicaid was another hot topic.
The VA can't stand what. Let me see what the cuts were. Hold on. They can't deal with any more cuts. The VA is already severely understaffed. 80,000. 80,000. A leaked memo says that they are planning to cut 80,000 jobs to an already completely understaffed agency.
Worries about cuts to people's health care benefits.
I'm very concerned that those are going to be cut severely. We already have a severe homeless problem. There are already elderly people sleeping on the streets, don't have homes. If they're lucky, they're in a soup kitchen.
Even if you are fine, you've got great insurance, you're not worried, you will be impacted by a cut to Medicaid, make no mistake. I am going to lay on the line for that, and we have to get others to lay on that rail.
I'm sure Trump's 30% includes veterans.
Heard at the town hall, but are still worried about what's ahead.
You mentioned several times tonight that you would lay down on the
railroad
tracks when the Trump train is coming. I have heard so many words now from so many people. Where is your red line?
They are just words right now. First, I'm working with my freshman class who is closest to the people and is most able to be reformers, and we are organizing to push our leadership. Second, I'm working with my Republican colleagues.
The Congresswoman has introduced the Stop Musk Act to ban retaliation against any federal employee who tries to block Elon Musk's actions against federal agencies.
These are bills that may, in some regards, be symbolic because we're probably not going to get these things passed, but it's important for people to know that we're fighting for them.
Dexter recently went viral after using an expletive when speaking about the president. Do you regret saying that?
You know, I don't. I naturally am going to want to reflect back to people that I'm hearing them. And so I think that it made me uncomfortable. Clearly, you can tell it was awkward, as my children have said, but the reality was that
he who saves his country
that this is
does not violate any law.
I'm afraid to speak out about.
Dexter has expressed that she will be hosting more town halls in the future. Ariel Salk, back to you.
Pam Bondi apparently in a little hot water with the White House over her handling of the Epstein files. When more than a dozen MAGA-aligned activists and social media influencers gathered at the White House last week, they had no idea they were about to be handed binders titled Epstein Files Phase 1, and neither did senior White House officials who organized the event, according to multiple sources. Attorney General Pam Bondi and her team did not inform White House officials in advance that she planned to distribute the binders, which contained almost no new information regarding convicted sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein. And now the move has ruffled feathers among those closest to President Donald Trump, including the senior White House staff. The move faced widespread criticism not only from Democrats, but also from some of the president's most loyal supporters. White House staff moved quickly to try to contain the fallout, privately reaching out to influencers who were critical of Bondi and the move online. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, responding to a request for comment from ABC News, said everyone is working together as one unified team at the direction of President Trump. Any notion to the contrary is completely false. The night before last week's event, Bondi told Fox News that the Justice Department planned to publish a lot of flight logs and a lot of names related to Epstein. However, the binders largely consisted of information previously made public through criminal or civil litigation surrounding Epstein and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, leading senior White House staffers to question why Bondi was even teasing the release of new information in the first place. Head of the Justice Department's public release, Bondi directed her staff to compile binders of the materials to distribute to the influencers at the event. She also instructed her team not to inform White House officials of the plan. This apparently was thinking the surprise would be well received. Oh, shit. The White House had organized the event a week earlier to engage influential pro-Trump voices, who the president credits with aiding his 2024 campaign. During the gathering in the Roosevelt Room, influencers including Liz Wheeler, Rogan O'Handley, and Chaya Raichik met with Leavitt and Vice President J.D. Vance. Then Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel entered the room and handed out the binders. Epstein Files Phase 1 by the order of Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel. I'm glad they put their names on it. It was printed on the cover with the word declassified stamped across the top. This was all PR. The information had not yet been posted on the Justice Department website when press cameras set up to cover British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's visit captured influencers leaving the West Wing. Some were seen smiling while holding MAGA hats in the binders, giving the impression they contain new revelations about one of the most infamous sex trafficking criminals in modern history. The images quickly went viral, generating a mix of speculation, confusion, and outrage across the political spectrum. Speaking of sex traffickers, and Pam Bondi was the former Attorney General of Florida when Jeffrey Epstein got off, by the way, the Attorney General of Florida's office looking into alleged sex traffickers Andrew and Tristan Tate.
Two controversial figures under investigation in Florida shortly after arriving from Europe, where they're also facing legal trouble. 7's Danielle Garcia is live at the news desk with those details. Danielle.
Alex, Andrew Tate and his brother are right-wing social media personalities. They're also accused rapists and sex traffickers. Now they're back in the U.S. and back under criminal investigation.
Well, I mean, that was a little redundant, wasn't it? You said right-wing influencer, and then you said accused sex trafficker. Just kind of a given, right?
3 long years they kept me in that jail.
Days after arriving in Fort Lauderdale, right-wing social media influencer and accused rapist Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan now being investigated by Florida's Attorney General.
It's about the fact that she belongs to him and the intimate parts of her body belong to him because they're in a relationship.
The Florida investigation comes after Governor Ron DeSantis made this.
He means her pussy.
No, Florida is not a place where you're welcome.
Tate went on a podcast Monday called the PBD Podcast and responded.
I don't know why Ron's answer wasn't, he has an American passport. The judicial system in Romania, which I know absolutely nothing about, decided to let him fly, and he's flown to his home country. As far as we're concerned, he's broken no laws. Instead, what he did was say, we're going to get our attorney general to try and find some laws he's broken and wreck this man.
The pair were arrested in Romania in 2022 for charges of trafficking minors and forming an organized criminal gang. The two brothers arrived in South Florida last week after being allowed
yes and no, Mox.
And our prosecutor,
I know it's happening. I don't know any details.
To let us go.
Now in a statement on social media, Attorney General James Uthmeier says he has directed his office to execute search warrants and issue subpoenas in the investigation. The two are also being investigated for sexual assault by British authorities, where they have also denied wrongdoing. It's not clear yet why the brothers were allowed to leave Romania, but a lawyer representing 4 alleged victims in the UK told the BBC that President Donald Trump's administration is, quote, interfering with due process.
I know nothing about that.
The brothers, who have
knows nothing about it.
British citizenship, have denied the allegations.
Andrew Tate was at one point suspended from all major social media platforms, but was reinstated to X after Elon Musk took control of the platform. At the news desk, I'm Danielle Garcia, 7 News.
We're getting into the crime stories. I really want to get to Space Ghost. But all this is good stuff. If you're a little squeamish, you might want to come back in about 15 minutes. We've got several videos that probably require a content warning. We're starting off first tonight with several stories in Florida. We have a father accused of a triple murder in Florida. God damn.
We are learning shocking new details about the father accused of a triple homicide in Tamarack. The suspect also facing charges for kidnapping his own daughter.
And we now know he was no stranger to law enforcement and has a very long history of domestic violence with that estranged wife.
Wow.
And local 10's Stanella Sabovic is live at BSO headquarters with more on what we're now learning. So many missed clues here. Stanella.
That's right, Christy. Newly obtained documents from the Broward Sheriff's Office here detail a very troubled marriage. We're talking about abuse allegations, stalking allegations, multiple 911 calls placed, and a restraining order filed just this past December. The sheriff here says that Nathan Gingell's weapons were never seized after that restraining order was issued.
Of fucking course.
3 people would die. He is charged in their murders. It was a horrific tragedy that rocked a Tamarack neighborhood last month. Investigators say 43-year-old Nathan Gingels killed his estranged wife, Mary Gingels, her father, and a neighbor, all while his 4-year-old daughter, Serafina, watched her father go on this violent rampage.
Fucking wow.
Troubled marriage, detailing allegations of abuse and Mary's fear of her husband, believing he would kill her and her daughter one day. She filed restraining orders. During the second one filed last December, it was uncovered Gingles was still in possession of his weapons.
We did not collect any of those weapons that I have in front of me right now.
Because you're a piece of shit.
Injunction. But this is within this investigation. I want to know why I didn't.
Why are your eyes so small?
Tragedies, Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney has launched an internal affairs investigation.
This death is on my watch.
His agency releasing new documents. A particular one shows more than a dozen calls.
Or is just his head really big?
Couple's marital home. Some calls were for custody issues, while another was for child abuse.
From the first few calls of service that came in, and as we're analyzing every single one of those calls, going over a year ago,
beady-eyed motherfucker,
things that where we probably should have done better.
Mary's first restraining order was filed last February. BSO deputies did seize his weapons then, documenting the guns, ammunition, and silencers. Once the order was lifted, the items were returned back to him in September. Last December, nearly 2 months before the murders and right before she obtained her second restraining order, Mary called 911 and told responding deputies that she was going through a difficult divorce and that her husband sometimes comes and goes into the house whenever she is not there, and that he is not supposed to be doing that while the divorce proceedings are still in motion.
There was enough there where we could have potentially pursued a probable cause affidavit so we can arrest him and take him off the street, and that didn't happen.
So again, the sheriff is promising transparency here. An investigation is underway as to why those weapons were never seen in December. Also, 8 deputies have been suspended and 1 captain has since been demoted. That is the latest. Reporting live from BSO headquarters, Sanella Sabovic, Local 10 News.
Very disturbing. All right, thanks so much.
Keeping it in Florida. This is a Florida heavy show tonight. A woman apparently used it's the same exact fucking news station too, it's the same reporter. Or no, it's a different reporter. It's the story after the story we just watched.
We have an arrest now being made after a deadly dispute in Miami Gardens. The suspect facing a judge this morning. Now, it all started with a call to police about a woman's stepfather trying to bite off one of her fingers.
Wait, what?
Leanne Morahone is live. She's in Miami Gardens with more on these disturbing details. Leanne?
The arrest form details a truly disturbing alleged murder that took place at this home right behind me. The defendant says that this was an act of self-defense, but now she's locked up.
Charges second-degree murder.
61-year-old Victoria Williams is accused of beating her stepfather to death.
Victoria.
No one came to the door at the Miami Gardens home where police say the murder happened. It was just after 2 p.m. February 4th when, according to police, Williams called 911 to say her stepfather nearly bit her finger off during a fight. When police arrived, they were surprised to find the victim with severe head injuries. He was pronounced dead about an hour later at the hospital.
They found evidence on the walking cane and a vitalizer jar, hair vitalizer jar, so there's probable cause.
As officers searched the home, they said they found blood on the walls and ceiling. They also say they found a bloody metal cane and a large jar of hair vitalizer, which was also bloody. The medical examiner's report found injuries consistent with those 2 items and ruled homicidal violence as the cause of death.
The medical examiner determines it was multiple factors contributed to the victim's death.
Police also found an ID and bank cards belonging to the victim inside Williams' purse, as well as more than $600 in cash.
You think she yelled, "You bald motherfucker," as she beat him with the bottle?
Inside, Williams told police she began to fight with her stepdad after he told her to leave. Williams claimed the victim attacked her first and bit her in the finger and leg. She also told them they've had a history of disagreements.
Maybe a self-defense claim, but for purposes of this hearing, there is probable cause for second-degree murder.
Just the victim was in his own home, and it appears that the victim was unarmed.
The
did she live there too?
Held without bond. She will have to appear before her division judge on Thursday. Reporting live in Miami Gardens, Leanne Morahone, Local 10 News.
Yeah, they did just roll up on the house and be like, "Yay, anybody get killed here?" That's exactly what happened. We hit the content warning again for this one. Also in Florida. We apparently have shocking body camera footage. Is this the same goddamn station?
We're back with chilling new video of a horrific hostage
No, it's a different
situation
station.
at a Florida gas station.
A worker's throat slit by a stranger, but it's the police response that's now coming under scrutiny.
What?
Back at our newsroom now with much more on this one, Eden.
And Calvin Janice, the Sanford police chief, admits even he was shocked about how his officers handled the situation, according to this newly released body cam footage. And we do want to warn you, the video is tough to watch.
My coworker, my shift manager, has been locked in the men's bathroom with another man who's not letting her out.
Okay, hold on. You said your coworker's locked in the bathroom?
How did some libertarian YouTube channel get the fucking video and audio over the news station? What the fuck? Are you serious? You had to go to YouTube to get it?
Did he put his hands on her? Hello?
He's got a knife.
Okay.
He cut her neck.
Well, the incident happened last summer when the assistant manager of this racetrack was taken hostage by a man in the bathroom of the gas station. She was being held at knife point, and you can hear her coworker call for help, explaining the severity of the situation. One officer arrives within just minutes and hears the woman pleading for help, but he doesn't go in. Then backup arrives.
In that door on the left, but hallway's narrow, bro. It's a setup. Feel me?
Ah, fuck.
Jordan, you wanna wait? I mean, I say we wait for more units. I mean,
The two officers
Render aid.
to go in despite the victim's cries, and by now the woman has been trapped for more than 5 agonizing minutes. Additional units make it to the scene, but confusion continues to stall rescue attempts. And they are heard asking for a key to the bathroom until a customer tells them it's unlocked, and then they finally open the door.
drop the knife! Drop the knife! Drop the knife! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Give me a sec. Get on your stomach! Get on your stomach!
Within seconds, they subdue the suspect and rush the victim, 31-year-old Sarah Flavin, out to safety. And once outside, Flavin, bleeding and shaken up, shares the chilling details of how the suspect lured her in.
I saw him standing in the hallway and I asked him if he needed something. He said the restroom was out of toilet paper. Well, I could see visually that it still had toilet paper, and I said, "Sir, please step out, let me check." And when I checked it...
Why are you not transporting her?
Got in front of the door and closed it behind me, and I said, "Please let me out."
Where did he cut you? In the hand or the
On
face?
he ripped my teeth out. He stuck his hand in my mouth.
Let me see. And you don't know him?
No, I don't know him at all.
Wow. Well, officers pat down the suspect, 62-year-old Randall Lawton. But a brief struggle ensues. Cops drag him outside where they begin to question him, but his bizarre responses only deepen the mystery. Lawton claims a demon was bothering him and he believed it needed to be punished. Flavin has pleaded not guilty to charges of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, resisting officers without violence, and kidnapping. And the victim was treated for deep cuts below the chin on her left hand and a missing canine tooth. Meantime, the first 2 officers at the scene have been removed from patrol duties and placed on administrative leave assignment, pending the outcome of this investigation.
He's been sneezing a lot today. I hope everything's okay with him. You don't have a cold, do you, buddy? You ain't got the bird flu. I'd flip him around to show you, but he'd probably get really upset with me. Zon, good evening. He's pretty chill right now. War Machine! Ah! All right, where were we? We were in the middle of a parade of just horror. Yeah. We got video of, this is a story we did a couple weeks ago. A Texas rapper was shot. Apparently, the rapper and his daughter were shot at a car wash, I think.
Men are on the run this afternoon, suspected of shooting a man and his 5-year-old daughter in.
Both the host and the suspect have the ash on their forehead.
Or still, police just released their photos and tell us Adonis Robinson and Jacoby Russell are considered armed and dangerous. Investigators say they were involved in Monday's shooting at Slappy's car wash. Ronnie Sibley was a rapper known in the local music community as G Money Lil Ronnie, and video shows him trying to get away while being shot at. Sibley's daughter Ramani was in the car and was also killed.
Slappy's car wash? Slappy's? We're going to LA County now. I got a cat eye and he sneezed again. He's acting really weird right now. Fuck. I don't know what he might have got into. Did you get, like, I ate fucking Popeyes? You didn't get into, like, the Popeyes box in there, did you? Oh my God, that would make a cat sneeze. A gas station clerk.
Gas station leaves an employee injured.
Shot at point blank range.
Point blank range.
I just said that.
The family is sharing the clerk's story with us. Let's go live to La Puente, where Fox 11's Ed Lascos has more for us tonight. Ed.
Yeah, terrifying is right. Terrifying for the clerk at that gas station over there. Terrifying when you think about being targeted by an armed robber. And then you've got the clerk. He's got his hands up like this saying, don't shoot. Hands up like this, so you would think the gunman would not shoot. Think again. No wonder they're calling this gunman a demon. Watch.
A demon?
The demons are out, you know what I mean? That's how it is.
Sadly, his brother Miguel found that out face to face with this demon. Look, Miguel even has his hands up, and still he's shot.
My brother had his hands up, and he was walking towards the register, but I think the guy did get a little scared. He almost seemed like he was going to try to grab the gun from the guy, but that's when he fired.
Miguel is down, writhing in pain. He's bleeding. The gunman panicking.
He panicked very hard. He seemed like he was scrambling, going back and forth, and he didn't take no money.
No money, with the gunman running off to his getaway car. Violence that has rocked this neighborhood a few blocks.
Well, that was stupid, wasn't it?
Down an unarmed man who
has
his hands raised in the air.
The bullet shot right through his hand, out the palm, into his chest, through his lung, to his back.
Oh, God.
Now, days after the shooting, he's still in the hospital. He's still in a lot of pain after doctors finally able to remove this bullet. Looks like a .45 caliber. Miguel telling his brother now, why did he even have to shoot?
Oh, man, he was all like...
he didn't even get anything.
Money, you know, like, really, like, why did he shoot? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do, and we know, as he says, to the demons, there's no price for life.
Nowadays, people will kill for $10, $20. You know, you don't know if they're on drugs or not. You know, you can never be too sure.
Nowadays.
That, huh? Now live, the Sheriff's Department out tonight confirming they have made an arrest. The alleged gunman in custody. He's off the streets. As for Miguel, the doctors expecting him to be okay eventually to make a full recovery, but he's still got a long road ahead, lots of pain ahead. The family set up a GoFundMe page if you'd like to help with that recovery. For now, we are live. La Puente, back to the west side we go.
Safer now than we've ever been. Back in the wild west days, they just shoot you for looking at you wrong. I mean, come on. He's in that Popeyes bag in there. He's really annoying me. I'm going to have to go do something about him.
Karen Reed's defense team made a new pitch today to try to get her case dismissed.
They're accusing the prosecution of what they call extraordinary governmental misconduct. WBZ's Christina Rex is live in Dedham. She joins us now. And Christina, this involves video evidence.
It does, Lisa and David. And listen, I just want to take you through it. This was a long day, and it will not surprise people who follow this case closely to learn that arguments did not even wrap up today. So the day started in federal court in Boston, where Karen Reed is asking a federal judge to call back jurors from her first trial, to pull them, and then potentially to throw out 2 of the charges against her. The federal judge said he will rule quickly ahead of her second state trial. Now that brings us here to Dedham, where Karen Reed spent the later half of the day as part of a heated debate between attorneys and the judge about whether her case should be thrown out altogether.
You bet we're aggrieved.
Karen Reed's lawyers want her case tossed just a few weeks before trial, arguing that prosecutors deliberately withheld surveillance video showing the condition of her taillight for years.
Members of the prosecution knew of the existence of this and other videos, and they hid them. And that's the galling issue. That is bad faith.
The prosecution's reason? They say Trooper Michael Proctor had the video and never handed it over to them. Instead, Hank Brennan spent the time arguing that the condition of the taillight is irrelevant and not up for debate, using Karen Reed's own words from a 2023 interview.
There was a few small pieces of taillight missing that I had picked out at John's at 5:45 before we drove over to Fairview. I'm showing Jen and Kerry, look what I just did to my light.
The day started with a scolding from the judge about the defense's allegations that State Trooper Fanning interfered with the jury.
What you state as fact, that Lieutenant Fanning had control over and access to this jury, is simply not true, Mr. Jackson.
And why would that matter?
Lieutenant Fanning was included on the text chain where Trooper Proctor said he was going through my client's phone looking for nudes.
And why would that matter? That's because the defense claims that a report from Lieutenant Fanning was the reason that a so-called Karen Reed friendly juror was dismissed from this case on the very last day of trial. Now, no decision from the judge yet on this issue. And listen, I know there is so much to unpack here lately with this case. We will have a full description of what happened.
Karen Smith is innocent. Karen Smith is innocent.
Very soon. Live in Dedham, Christina.
Oh, Karen Reed.
WBZ News.
Christina knows.
Karen Smith, that's the woman that sent her kids into the brink, right? I missed it. I'm sorry. I was dealing with cats. This is a wild one where a suspect apparently swallowed jewelry that he had stolen. It's Susan Smith. Sorry. Fucked it up. Thank you, guys. Here is a suspect that allegedly swallowed jewelry after stealing from Tiffany's. It's Tiffany's jewelry.
A man appears to be shopping for jewelry at Tiffany's.
Gives new meaning to breakfast at Tiffany's.
Goods and runs.
Gives new meaning to breakfast at Tiffany's.
A man appears to be shopping for jewelry at Tiffany's when all of a sudden, authorities say he grabs the goods and runs off. Here it is again in slow motion. Police in Orlando, Florida say the suspect, dressed in a red polo shirt and hat, now identified as Jathan Gilder, told employees that he was representing a professional athlete on the Orlando Magic basketball team.
What?
He asked to see 2 pairs of earrings worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. When they were brought out, investigators say he can be seen on camera grabbing a pair and taking off. Authorities say Gilder's license plate was tracked and he was taken into custody. Police say they saw Gilder swallow what was believed to be the jewels. They executed a search warrant to locate the stolen goods. Tiffany & Co., of course, is synonymous with American luxury. Founded in 1837 with its headquarters on Fifth Avenue in New York City, it's famous for its little blue box and this iconic cinematic moment in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Of course, breakfast at Tiffany's isn't supposed to mean eating the jewels. As for Gilder, he now faces charges in connection with the crime.
Yes, it was
robbery with a
too
mask
obvious,
and
right?
theft. He has not entered a plea. No word yet on whether the swallowed goods have...
Oh my God, this also happened. This happened in Orlando. Another Florida story tonight. How many goddamn Florida stories? Oh, do we don't have the video of this. Soup, welcome in. God damn it. Soup, welcome in. You handsome man. And all you Raiders, welcome, welcome. We're finding out what that news be doing, but we're coming to the end. We're going to be watching Space Ghost Coast to Coast in honor of a legend who passed away yesterday. That's going to happen here in about 10, 15 minutes. We got a few more stories to do. I was hoping that we would have video, so I'm going to skip this one. You know, if we don't have video, I don't care about a old person driving into a clothing store. Okay, you guys. Everybody get ready with your horny gel emotes. Luigi Mangione sex tape bombshell as CEO assassin suspect filmed at least 20 cinema-style porn videos he wanted to be watched. Scuba Duck, welcome in. Thank you for being a freaking follower. The 26-year-old Ivy League graduate has amassed a loyal fan base behind bars, with women reportedly throwing themselves at him as he faces charges for allegedly shooting dead United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Now an insider has told Radar Online about Mangione's life before prison, revealing there are at least 20 videos of him having sex that he filmed and wanted to be watched. It wasn't just some grainy late-night mistake. It was perfect lighting and everything. He wanted to be watched. He got off on it. There are at least 20 videos of him having sex. The person went on to say a lot of girls are too afraid to come forward or tell anyone for fear that they might get dragged into this case somehow. Mangione was the subject of a widespread manhunt after Thompson was shot dead on the streets of Manhattan in the early hours of December 4th while attending a conference. In the weeks that followed his arrest, key details about Mangione's sex life and health battles were made public. Guys, I'm going to tell you, I'd probably pull a Luigi, but I don't think I'm hot enough to get away with it. Like, I wouldn't get the attention that Luigi is getting, and I'd get ran over by the state. YouTube, welcome in. You've got to wonder, War Machine, was it before the back injury, or maybe it's the cause of the back injury? Am I right?
You live in sexual anarchy?
Them some nice titties. I'd slap them.
A titty slap! What the? Give me those titties, come on now.
An OnlyFans star is apparently planning her next stunt, I guess you'd call it. She's gonna go to a nursing home.
Today I'm at the care home visiting my oldest fan. When I said I don't mind guys any age or any size, I really meant it. I found my oldest fan via Facebook.
Look how happy he is.
His address. He actually sent me the address of a care home, so I'm actually here with him and his friends, and I'm going to show them a good time. Today I'm at the care home visiting my oldest.
Did you guys see that face? There is so much clap there. If you spoiler alert for a TV show from 7 or 8 years ago, if you haven't watched the reboot of Roseanne, The Conners, Roseanne's mom ends up getting kicked out of the nursing home because she gave several of the residents herpes. There's an orderly above him. Oh my God. Byronic, good evening. Monitoring his blood pressure. You guys all know I'm a wrestling fan, and I used to be a huge Keith Olbermann fan. So this is it's an intersection of two different fandoms of mine. Keith Olbermann wants ESPN to fire Pat McAfee for calling Canada a terrible country. Former ESPN star and MSNBC host Keith Olbermann has had enough of Pat McAfee on the ESPN airwaves. Olbermann called McAfee an idiot who should be fired over his outburst when he called Canada a terrible country while color commentating for WWE's Elimination Chamber. McAfee did get really worked up, and I don't know why. So they did both the American and Canadian national anthem, and the Canadians booed the American national anthem. Logan Paul came out with an American flag, and the Canadians booed him, but that might not have been because of the American flag. You know, a lot of us tried to warn the new management that the day would come when this idiot would draw them into a permanent political controversy that they could either be subsumed by it or fire him. That day is today. Fire him, Olbermann said. Brother, are you serious? Something has snapped in Olbermann's brain. No, he's very well liked in WWE and by the WWE universe. Olbermann is he is not who he was 20 years ago. And being a bougie liberal in New York City, he is completely out of touch. All right, this is from the C-SPAN clip from the 90s. I think it was 94 or 95. National Cable Television Association annual show. So this is like a conference that aired on C-SPAN.
Ghost Citizen Bruce.
And what planet are you from?
I come from the Ghost Planet, a.k.a. Cartoon Network.
And what special powers do you have, if any?
I can become invisible, I can fly, and I bake one heck of an apple brown Betty.
And Space Ghost.
We're enjoying a laugh now.
Yes,
aren't we
are. How do you serve humanity?
How do I serve humanity? Well, I usually prefer to serve humanity steaming hot, right out of the kitchen, because it's no good if it's cold.
Would you regard yourself as a superhero?
Absolutely. Think of me as Walter Mondale with super strength.
How do you compare yourself to your colleagues in the business, such as, for example, Superman or Batman?
Well, you know, Superman got that groin pull a couple of years ago. Very, very difficult, very painful. Spider-Man, you just don't want to shake hands with him. Because
it is Greg Lowe.
You know, a warm greeting, you get that handful of that glop, that he sticks to things with. So that's unpleasant. He's an unpleasant person. Who else?
Do you have there are many. Do you have a secret identity?
My secret identity, yes. My real I will share this with you, Citizen Bruce. Nobody else is listening?
Correct.
My real identity is Tad Ghostal. That's my secret identity, Tad Ghostal. But don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody.
What does Tad do for a living?
Well, Tad used to work at the Gap. He works at the Gap, but on weekends he fights crime.
Well, Space Ghost, we don't want to keep you from your mission.
Not at all. I can stay another hour.
Thanks for stopping by Caspan.
It was a pleasure to be here on Caspan, and thank you for having me. Citizen Bruce and Citizen Cameraman doing a fine job.
So he is.
All righty.
You are.
Hell yeah, Greg Lowe. We're getting ready to do a Space Ghost Marathon in honor of that motherfucker. Rest in peace. But before we go, I got a horse video for you. This horse has waited his entire life for this. Greg Lowe died yesterday. That's why we're doing a Space Ghost Marathon moments from now in honor of the man. I wonder if the horse wins. But he's only 1 horsepower. How many horsepowers do those bikes have? He doesn't just want to join in. He's in it to win it, I think. Oh, you're right, Flash. But he wants to run with him so bad. He made it happen. Horsepower is a funny numbering system. All right, podcast people and YouTube people that watch this later, because we're not live on YouTube right now. Light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.